All right, good morning, afternoon, 11, 12, 1, 2. Afternoon, I was doing the time for the time zone, so I say the right message. Good morning, good afternoon for those. My name is Eric Castillo, host of the Warrior Mindset and Motivation podcast. Today, I got a pretty cool guy. His name's Dominique Brown. He likes to go by Dom. He's an Army veteran, combat veteran. He's done amazing stuff in his career. Runs an awesome nonprofit right now, and I really like how what he does with it. And also want to say thanks to Matthew Pennington for setting this up and talking with him. We were talking here about 15 minutes before the show to kind of just throwing some stuff around, getting to know each other, and is pretty good. I really am looking forward to speaking with you and having veterans see another resource that they have, because this is what this is about, is seeing that transitions are not always easy, and that there's resources out there for help, because there's always someone that knows someone that knows someone that'll get you help. It's all on who you know. Just like when you were in the military, networking, a guy in a different unit who knows an officer to get something, or someone in a different unit who knows someone and to get you that thing that you need. And this is what this podcast is about. So I'm going to go ahead and let Dom introduce himself and give a little bit of background about himself, and we'll go ahead and dive into it. Go ahead. The floor is yours, bud.
Hey, how you doing, Eric? Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot. So, as he said, I'm Dom Brown. Joined the Army in 1994. Did 16 years, 11 Bravo, 88 Mike, 92 Alpha, 95 B. So that's basically infantry, driver, logistics, and military police. So I joined when I was 17, and been deployed all over the United States, all over the world. 3 combat missions, and about 5 to 7, I would say, humanitarian missions and deployment and training all throughout my career. And yes, I do run a nonprofit called Freedom Team Inc. What we do is we basically we teach veterans on how to transition positively from military life to civilian life. And that aspect, what we do is we have it's called Freedom Farm Team. That's one of our programs. So what we do is we help the veteran get a planter box, and no matter where you live at, the city, the country, the rural area, don't make a difference. Anyone can get a planter box. So we teach veterans on how to basically plant some fruits, plant some vegetables, kind of like get outside of their head, so to speak. And with that, you know what? They can actually transition a little bit smoother. So like me, for instance, I isolated when I got back. It was just something I did. But just some was easier, just planting. You have to water it, you have to nurture it, you have to do everything to get it prepared. And that's wonderful. So we kind of mix that in with the civilian life. And we have some people that own farms, some people that do, larger planter boxes, and they come out and we teach, and it's wonderful. So it's wonderful doing that. And we also have a program called Feast, Friends Eating and Sharing Together, which is basically we do once a year, and it's open to everybody, to the public. So the public comes out and we get a lot of stuff donated to us. And it's just a big dinner. It starts usually at 5 in the afternoon. It's not over till about 9 p.m. And it's veterans and just civilians coming in, and they're talking to veterans and eating at the same time. Like, hey, how was this? How was it? And it's educating the public as well as educating the veteran. Because as us as combat veterans, we know one thing: the military. No matter if you was in the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, the military. But then when we go out into the civilian world, and for me, I thought they knew, but a lot of people don't know until you tell them. So you may get the jerk response, well, we'll just get over it, or I don't understand, and they walk off, because they really do not sincerely understand. But once you teach them and educate them, everyone is so sincere and everyone is so loving. And that's meaningful for a veteran like myself and others. And instead of just getting a parade, because anyone can do a parade, but when you sincerely have someone say, hey, thank you for your service. And when someone said that to me, I didn't know what to say back. I'm like, okay, you're welcome. But now,
Right.
Yeah, so now that you have that understanding, it's like, okay, you know what? Thank you for your support. Because it was you that donated to the VFW, the American Legion, the AMVATS, to VA centers, to anything that I'm getting tributes from. And it's just an understanding. It goes both ways, like a relationship. It's 2 ways. It's a receiver and a person that's receiving. So it's just wonderful. So
And I think a good thing we talked about earlier too, if you want to share the story about that the PTSD breakdown, I think that was like legit. That was perfect because even me, I was like, damn, that's like a like being hit me in the head, like, geez, like perfect. So if you want to share that story, that's actually a
Yes.
really good one. So that way, for people who think they know or have an idea, or maybe they don't know but are too afraid to go like this, saying they don't know, I think that'd be good to put that out there to share that story because I think that really puts to perspective, not even just PTSD as just for veterans, just as a whole in general, what it is. So if you want to share
Right.
it, please.
Sure, we'll do. So I was actually I was at this feast, and a person came up to me and he was like, "Well, what is your ailment?" I said, "I have combat PTSD and TBI." So he said, "Well, just get over it." So I said, "Okay." I said, "Okay." And it took me back a little bit, and I got a little triggered. And I said, "Okay, sir." So I'm gonna tell you what my doctor told me. I said, "The world isn't ready for everyone to have PTSD." And you know, he was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Would you tell a rape victim to get over being raped?" So he was like, "No, it's not the same." I said, "But it's the same." I said, "So if you driving in your car and a bird comes in front of your windshield and you swerve, you stop, and you're like, okay, wow, what was that?" I said, "The next time you drive at that same location, what do you do?" He was like, "Well, I slow up and I look for that bird." I said, "That's PTSD." I said, "It may not be combat PTSD, but now you have a driver's PTSD." I said, "So it's all the same." And then he was like, "You know what? I never thought about it like that." And it's true for anything like TBIs. Now we can argue back and forth and say, you know what, the military didn't know about TBIs, but think about in the 80s and the 90s when you had the crash test dummy with the commercial. If you don't wear a
Yeah.
seatbelt, that's a TBI. You get hit in the head, the front, and in the back because your brain moves inside those 2 points of contact. And until people actually realized, it was like, oh yeah, that's right. And it's like, okay, and it's like you remember those commercials and you remember everything. You're like, oh man, that's what it is. And you all you do is just relate it to something that they've seen before. And that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's new to the military because we never had to deal with it before. You know, because of course each war is different, but it's the same. So let's just say Vietnam. They may not
Yeah.
have convoys like we did going through MS Tampa, in Iraq or in Afghanistan. It had IEDs and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it was new to the military because we haven't done it before, but it wasn't new to the public because we had commercials on it.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Um, and like that whole, and yeah, comparing those two eras, they're different. Like that's like up close and personal. Like you're getting booby trapped, you're getting a limb lost, like the thin wires and stuff, and that's that's something. And then of course for driving, yeah, it's a bigger threat. So it's like I seldomly like to even compare them because they're two different eras,
Right.
and you can't say one was worse or one was not because even with like World War I and World War II, still different eras,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like all that fighting style is different. Like, do I think it was a little more intense than the ones that we went through, like OEF and OIF? Yeah, I think so. I mean, other people had different experiences. Yeah, sure. But like World War I and World War II, they didn't have the equipment that we had. They
Yeah.
didn't have the cold weather gear, the wet weather gear. So when I say intense, they think of the fighting. I'm not talking about the fighting. I'm talking about the equipment. They didn't have
Right.
NVGs in World War I and World War II. They didn't have that stuff. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
have thermals. And if they did, it was just some big old contraption that probably took forever and a day to warm up, and you get 5 minutes to look through, and then that's it. You
Yep.
know? So it's like I don't like to compare those like that. It's just like, oh, they did the best they could in those times. And it's an adapting and it's just constantly evolving. And it's like you said, it's new. So
Mm-hmm.
like whatever the next one's gonna be, we haven't done it, it's gonna be new.
Yep.
Um So I seen that when I was reading your bio. I know you went to Iraq 3 different times. It was pretty interesting because I was in Iraq in '05 and '06.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tail end '04, '06. I was at Balad, LSA Anaconda, and I
Okay.
did convoy escorts there for a whole year as an artilleryman. Go figure. Um, so and I know Iraq was a piece of work there. That was definitely something. That was taking a battery of artillery to go drive trucks and we did it well. I mean, we had long convoys, 30, 40, 50 vehicle convoys, and it's like trying to just keep that. And if it get broken up, and there's only what, 4 gun trucks,
Yep.
maybe five,
If you're
and
lucky.
if you're lucky. And even at that point, like we got the armored support vehicles later, so we had regular Humvees first. So it's like you don't really see the threats. You don't really even know. You're like rolling the dice every time. I was hit by an IED in Iraq, and that messed up my back pretty bad, along with the two other guys that were. Luckily, at that time, luckily, I felt fortunate because we had just got the armored support vehicles. They were the V-Haul military police vehicles that have the V shape with the big four wheels, and they had level 3 armor on them. They had just put those on, and they gave it to us, and then boom, I felt like the test dummy in that damn thing, like, because I got hit in it. But I'll tell you what, we drove back with 3 flat tires after everyone kind of woke up from like being startled and unconscious and things like that. Everyone kind of came to and was like, "Oh, you okay?" It's like, "Yeah, my back was hurting. I was in like the automatic turret. There was oil spitting all over the place. You know, it was crazy." But for you, what happened? Anything happened during your combat things that went on? There's 3 of them, so I mean, and during that time, I know there was some things going on over there because I was part of it. So
so the first tour was from 03 to 05, and even in those 2 years, it changed because the first time we went over there, of course, you know, we went from Kuwait to Iraq, and of course they had people lined up, arm and shouldered, so you wouldn't cross the border. And of course, as anyone knows, you know, hey, you had to keep going because when we slowed up, guess what? They started taking stuff off the vehicles, and we didn't have any up armored vehicles. We had the plastic doors, you know, and it was like, what do you do?
This is the cloth doors. You take a knife and just go.
Right? Yeah, it was like this is supposed to be war. You got us took these Tonka toys, you know. So, but at the end of the day, it was only what the units had, you know. So we got there, did what we had to do, and of course, once we got in theater, we put sandbags on the floorboard. So if there was any blast comes up, hey, at least it'll stop a little something. And then we put, you know, the old flak jackets over the doors as we wear our regular body armor. And it was weird because when we used to drive for QRF, I used to be QRF. So I used to be in the turret of a Humvee. And this was in the beginning when they used to put the cable underneath the bridges. So they did the cables and the RPGs. This is before the IEDs. So the A driver had actually cut the strap that I was sitting in because he saw the cable. So of course, you know, my back of my helmet hit the end of the turret going down, and I hurt my lower back or whatever. And of course, I didn't know anything because I'm looking and you have the shield up there, so you really couldn't see the cable. And when he did that, you talking about someone getting their head rocked. Oh, I got my head rocked, but I'm living here now today. But then as it went on to 04 to 05, then they got the IEDs, they got smarter, you know, and it was just weird because each time we did convoy security. Each time you can do a briefing all day long, and it's nothing compared to when you get in their real life. And you know that. And
you can rock drill all day long. You can practice, and then it's going to be that one scenario you don't cover, or that thing that's not even in the book, and then you're literally figuring it out on the fly. Then you have to make the best decision for your soldiers and yourself to not die, basically.
Yes. And you talking about a scary moment. It's just, what do you do? You know, and if, like you said, you know, you're lucky if you got a five convoy vehicle with that had support. Most of ours were 4 vehicles because we were spread so thin. You know, yes, we're a massive army, but each one of us had specific roles. So you know how it goes. You know, it's just, you know, like I remember our sergeant major. He used to be a rope sergeant, and we used to complain a whole lot. You know, I was with 82nd Airborne out of Fort Bragg on 189 CSB, and he got tired of us complaining because I was just an E5. And he said, let me tell you guys a story. He said, let me tell you something about a rope U. He said, a rope U, we have a system that siphons everything through. He said, the colonel said something to me, and I said, Colonel, that's BS. He said, I go to the first sergeant. The first sergeant said, that's BS. We don't have the manpower. The first sergeant goes to the platoon leader go to squad leader. He said, by the time it gets to you, the squad leader and the soldier, all I want you to do is say, who will make it happen. He said, because it's all been siphoned from the top all the way to the bottom. And when he said that, it was a motivational speech. When he said that, it put a lot of things in perspective. Because, you know, our sergeant majors, our first sergeants, you know, they do see it from a lower standard, but they still getting their higher ups. And like he said, look, I'm tired of complaining. All I want to hear is who. And trust me, after that, that's all he heard was who. But then, as you know, who it can be yes or who it can be like, you know.
Yeah.
So,
That can be sarcastic. It can be
yes.
polite. Like you can just change the tone, and you can be like, "Were you just sarcastic with me right now?"
Right.
For
So, but
real, yeah.
you know, it was good times, and you know, when people always ask me, they say, "Well, would you do it all over again, knowing the ailments that you had and the things you went through?" I say, "Yeah, I would."
Yep.
You know, I wouldn't change a thing, because soon you change one thing, everything changes. You know, it
Yeah.
made me into the person I am. Yes, I did have, you know, I went through a divorce. Yes, I do have separation anxiety. I do have the TBI. I do have PTSD. I do have survivor's guilt. I did try to commit suicide, but I wouldn't change it because it made me into the person I am now. Now I can help out fellow veterans. I can help out civilians because now I know. But is it a hard road? Oh yeah, it's a hard road. It's rough. But I like to say it's always too easy, because it is that easy. You just have to have the perseverance and the drive to say, you know what? And once I change myself, I can put all this knowledge into other people, and they can make the proper changes. And it's up to them, just like it was up to me. And like I tell my children, I'm not in competition with no one but myself, because no one knows my worth except for me. You
That's
know,
the same
I
thing
can't
my
say,
fiance says.
yeah, there you go.
She competes with herself, and I learned that from her. I did it my whole life. I just didn't know it until she said it. And it's funny that now you're saying it, because it's true. You know, like you're only competing with yourself. Everyone else are just adversaries and opponents, but you're competing with yourself.
That's
You
true.
know.
And I tell my son all the time, because he's in 10th grade, and I tell him, I said, your best friend, you can care less what his grades are. I said, you're competing with you. I said, you're not worried about his grades, he ain't worried about your grades. I said, as long as you do what you're supposed to do, I said, everything else will fall into place. You know, then that's when he's like, oh, okay, because you know, 15 and 16-year-olds think they know it all. So, you know, it's like, then he's like,
Yes.
okay, I understand. I'm like, just worry about you. Everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, it will. And I think once as a veteran, I think once you realize that when you take ownership for yourself and you start owning your mistakes, like it was a hard pill for me to swallow with my mistakes, and it's not like that I was trying to run from them. I just didn't want to face them.
Right.
I thought that if I didn't have to deal with them, they would go away. But we all know that if you don't solve a problem, the problem is still there. And for people who don't understand what that means, write a math problem on a piece of paper and then walk away. Put it in a place where it's always in a visible place. But when you come back, that problem's still going to be there until you solve it.
Yep.
3 times 2 is going to sit there as 3 times 2 until you put the damn 6 on there. You know?
That's so very true.
So it's like, and it took me a long time and a lot of trick and trials and hardships to understand that. But then that's why, like how you said, I wouldn't change nothing either, because this is why where I'm at right now was because all of that stuff and going through all that hell and everything else, both personal and professional.
Yeah.
You learn about who you are. And like I even posted something on social media a couple days ago. It's like it had something to do with about you know, you go through hardships, and when you go through hardships, you go from ordinary, and then when you persevere through that hardship, you just became extraordinary, because now you pushed over and exceeded and climbed a hurdle over a hardship that you probably self-doubted that you didn't think you would do. And the fact that the moment you got over it, you just became extraordinary in that, and now you just learned something new about yourself that you didn't know before. So now I know you had some deployments, which is good, and you had your whole slew of MOSs going on over there. I can't even only imagine what your ERB looked like with MOSs on there. So how was the transition for you? I know for me, like I had told you, and people know on here, mine was not easy. Mine was very hard. And that was one of the main reasons why this podcast was born, was because I had a very hard transition. Like how I was telling Dom here off camera that the Army tried to give me 2 weeks to clear. Well, it was the Army. I can't, let me rephrase that. It wasn't the Army. The Army gives you an ample amount of time. It's the unit that wants to make it difficult. The unit tried to give me 2 weeks to clear the Army, which was wrong on so many levels. On top of a relationship or marriage I was in that was just shambles and done. So like it made it very hard, and then even the transition was very difficult. So for you, how was your transition?
So my transition was very difficult. So what comes to mind was when I first got back from my first deployment in 05. I had road rage. I had just had rage and didn't know why. So I left off post at the time. So I'm going from my home to the post, and this lady just randomly cut me off. Now, granted, I'm driving an F-350 diesel truck, and this was in 05. So this is before they had the little sound barrier in the engine compartment. So it sounded like a Humvee, and that's why I bought it. It was loud. It was a diesel truck. So I'm like, yeah. So she cut me off, and I drove 10 miles out the way just to cut her off. So as I did that, I felt I was shaking in my truck when I did it because I felt bad. I'm like, what the hell did I just do? So I called 911, and they was like, what happened? I said, let's cut this lady off the road. I feel bad, da 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 da. So police came out, and this was in the state of Maryland. So the police came out, and just so happened the officer that came out was a reservist that was an E7. So he said, where you going? So I said, I'm going to the base. I got to, get to my unit, whatever, get the formation. He said, you know what? I'll call you first sergeant. What I need you to do is get back in your truck, and we're going to have another police car, and you're going to follow me to Walter Reed. And this is 05, before Walter Reed changed, to Bethesda and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, and I'm not thinking nothing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting arrested, so that's a good thing. So he drives me in there, and he says, look, he said, I'm an E7. He says, you need to get some help. So I'm like, I'm fine. He goes, no. He says, trust me, you need some help. He says, you got some issues. You're not going to get arrested. There's no report to file, but just go in there and get some help. So I go in there, and I stayed 6 months in, and the sergeant major came down and talked to me and everything. He says, Sergeant Brown, don't worry about it. As far as you know, you're on a training mission. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, first sergeant, all right, top. So I did that for 6 months, came back, no one knew. And they still didn't have a name for PTSD. They just put me on a bunch of meds, sent me off. So when I got back to the unit, they said, we want you to go to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. So I'm like, what's in Chambersburg? He says, you're going to Letterkenny Army Depot. And I'm like, all right. So I looked it up on Google. It wasn't there. I'm like, well, first sergeant is not. He says, hey, it's there. He said, you need to make a phone call. So the reason it wasn't listed on Google because it's a munitions center. So of course that's not really available on Google. So found out what it was to get out there. And he says, since you don't know the quality of life on the civilian world here in the city, we're going to send you to Chambersburg. So of course, Chambersburg in 05, as I call it, Cheers town, because everybody knows everybody, and it's a town that they love veterans. It's a veteran friendly town. It really is. And the sergeant major out there welcomed me, the unit welcomed me, and it was wonderful. So he just said, hey, this is going to be your transition point. You have to make the best of it. And I ended up staying up at Carlisle Barracks. That's the war college. But they had a section just for NCOs. We used to call it NCO Island because it was like 30 houses in a cul-de-sac, basically. So, but all the officers and the lieutenant colonels and the colonels lived, in other houses. But we had our own little section, and that's when I got my help. But then life went on. And of course, I couldn't sleep in the bed correctly. So it took me 6 months to actually sleep in the bed with my wife. And I didn't want to hold my children. It was just scary, So 06 come around, and I had my first attempt of suicide. I just couldn't do it. I was a year into the unit, getting into the swing of things, doing my Army thing. Boom, everything was great. So the sergeant major says, you know what, Sergeant Brown, we want you to be Soldier of the Year. Here's your pamphlet to study. Then you'll be in front of the board of other sergeant majors, da 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 da. And then I just had a newborn daughter born on Christmas Eve, and it was so much happening that it was so confusing. You had the training, I had the newborn, I was still doing the Army thing, I was still leading soldiers, and it was just so overwhelming. I said, you know what, I can't take this. And, I tried to commit suicide. Of course, I overdosed on trazodone, because that's what they had me on at the time. And if anyone knows the system in the military and in the VA, they give you abundance of medications. They can care less if you have a year supply. Now they give you a whole 10 bottles of a whole year supply. So of course I took 2 whole bottles. It was readily available. And I was in a coma for, I think they said 15 days. And the reason they didn't do the charcoal thing is because I kept coming in and out and they didn't want me to choke. So after that, my wife, we went through my first wife, we went through counseling, and she really didn't understand. So of course, ended up getting a divorce. So, and then to fast forward, what made me get remarried to the current wife I have now is my little brother, which is a Marine, but he died in the line of duty. And I have two brothers. We all was in the service. So he died in the line of duty, and I was contacting an old friend that I knew, and she helped me through everything. And, you know, I was telling her what was going on, and she was like, okay. She goes, no problem. And she really did help me through. And the goal was not to get into a relationship. I really didn't want another relationship. But she pushed me, and she says, hey, you know, this is what you need to do, you know, this, that, and the third. And I was like, I said, okay, I'll do it. It's no problem. I'll do it. And, you know, I just brush it off, you know. So she was like, so you living by yourself? I said, yeah. So I told her, I said, hey, why don't you move up with me? You know, I proposed to her, whatever. So she moved up with the two children. And there was a point where we had another relative live with us. And I'm a man, so I don't believe in taking care of another grown man. Okay, so another grown man just happened to interject and want to come into my home, so I felt threatened. So I put on my body armor and got my MK 1919, which is a semi-automatic shotgun, and I told him, I said, Nick, come back to the house. So he didn't, but that was my peak. And after she calmed me down after 2 hours, she said, you know what, you need to go to the VA. And I went to the VA, did a 90-day inpatient thing, and she was there every other day to make sure that I was okay and they're doing the thing they're supposed to do. So she told my primary care physician, she says, he wears a lot of masks. So he will tell you what you need to know just so he can get out of here. And that's what I did, because I'm not broken, you know. But when she did that, that really opened up my eyes. And she says, look, she said, I'm in it to win it. She said, my main purpose is for you to be well. She said, I don't care if it takes 10 years, 20 years. I'm here for you through thick and thin. And she got me motivated to do the nonprofits, to help out other veterans, to help out the public. And it took a while, and that was from 2013 to present. And it took a while, but I can truly say, you know, when you find the right person that's going to be in it for the right reasons and to motivate you, that's a love that's not no other. It really is. And I tell her that all the time. Now, granted, do I still have issues? Yeah. You know, but at least I can manage the issues and I can see them. And if she's there to say, hey, babe, pull it back a little bit, you know, get regular, get everything in order. And that's what it takes sometimes. And you have to be open to say, okay, let me reflect. You're right. And, you know, being deployed and coming back home, for me, because I've done it several times in my first marriage, and I've done it once in this marriage, it was like, I'm gone for a year, I come back, I'm the king of the household. Well, no, she just ran the household for a whole year. No, you're not king of nothing, you know, but I had to realize that. And it's like everyone has a role. And then once I understood my role, not to be disrespectful for a man or a woman, but we all have a role in life, in a household, in anything, and in a job. So once you know your role, it makes it a lot easier. And it's not to diminish a person that stays at home, not to diminish a person that goes out to work every day, 9 to 5. It's just we all have an equal role. It's 100-100, not 50-50. It really isn't.
Yeah. No, that's totally true, man. You hit so many nails on the head with all that stuff, and it's like I'm experiencing that relationship for the first time, and it's blissful. It totally projects you. It helps you like want to be better. Like you constantly want to strive and succeed. And it's like you got the nonprofit. Like I know mine, she has her business, and we're gonna get that back up and going again. You know, and I'm gonna help her with it. I mean, I don't know how to run a business, but I know how to run people. You know, like I know how to help people, and that's what I'm gonna help her with, is to get it back up, because COVID hit her hard. She had it going, she was doing well, and then COVID swept her under her feet. And now it's like I'm just like, hey, let's get up, and now I'm gonna help her get it back going again. But like that's just because of how the communication we have back and forward, you know. And not to say that for people listening that you need to go out there and find someone to be with to help you push and get through life. No, it's not what we're saying. It's just saying it's nice to have that, but you can easily do it by yourself.
Yes.
It's just you learn, you gotta like you got to learn just to take care and love yourself before you can love someone else. And one of the things that stuck with me is you have a cup, right? And you're constantly pouring to other cups, but if your cup's empty, how can you pour for someone else if you don't have none? You know, like if you're asking me for $5 and I don't have $5, how am I supposed to give you $5 if I don't have $5? You know,
Right.
like how? It doesn't work like that. So, but then when you take care of yourself, you start filling your cup up, you start filling your bank up. Then when now you can give to others because you can do that.
Yeah.
But that revolves around being take care of yourself. And then there's a line between self-care and then being self-absorbed. There's a difference.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and then that it can easily blur into one or the other, but that's why you have to learn the healthy boundaries of what is self-care, and that's just doing stuff for you by yourself, you know, so that way you can learn about yourself. Because I had to relearn myself. Shit, I'm still relearning about myself. Like, I think just a couple weeks ago, my fiance asked me what some things I like to do, and hell, I still don't even know what I like to do. Like, I don't know. I don't freaking know. I mean, I've learned some stuff. I mean, I used to like to play video games a lot, and that guys I kind of do a little bit, not too much. I like to play the Call of Duty and Battlefield, but that kind of like phased off. I'll play every now and then. I really like to read. I like to read a lot of articles, just to kind of learn. Like I'll see something peaking about like the VA, or because I'm diabetic, I'll read. I just like to learn. I like to learn and I like to gain knowledge.
Yeah.
Where if you would have asked me that 10 years ago, no, I would have been like, hey, give me a joystick. You know, like I would. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I like playing. Don't get me wrong. I like to play every now and then on my phone with my son, or I'll play on the Xbox Live or watch him play. But like, I'm still learning. I know I like to shoot guns, and I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So I like to do that. But besides reading and like shooting guns, I don't even really know. And that's what I'm saying for those guys and girls listening. That if you don't know, it's okay. It's
Yep.
okay that you don't know. Look at me. I don't know. I'm talking to you right now from a podcast, and I don't even know. Half the time with the podcast, and just so people know, like I told Dom, I don't write questions down. I don't pre-script questions because I like the questions to come organically. Like even now, there was a couple of questions I wrote that didn't come up because, well, they just didn't freaking come up. I just thought of it at the time. And it's all like a learning process, and it's just you constantly learning and you're constantly growing. So if you don't know what you're doing, that's okay. But you got people like Dom and Freedom Team Inc. You got people like Mission 22. You got Wounded Warrior Program Project Odyssey. You got Catch a Lift Foundation. You got all these different organizations, and Matthew's going to put me in touch of some of those people as well who run some other nonprofits, and they're going to come on here so that way, just more resources for you veterans. And each week I'm going to give y'all a different resource, a different tool. If you're getting out of the military, if you need help with the VA, you know, like I got different people coming on so that way I can provide as much exposure for people as possible. And then I got now Dom here talking about his nonprofit, and that's cool. Like the farming. Yeah, I actually farmed across the street at my fiance's parents' house. Dom, I never farmed a day in my life, but I was obsessed with putting lines in the dirt because damn it, we did that at Fort Bragg, and you had to put lines in the dirt. If you didn't put lines in the dirt, you couldn't go home.
Right.
You know, so I was obsessed with putting lines in the damn dirt across the street. That was my thing. I was like, I will put the lines in the dirt and I will rake. Learn how to plant, and I was sitting there, I was going all slow, making sure there was no footprints, nice lines in the ground. I look back and I'm like, yeah, I felt Army again. You know, I was like, yeah, lines in the dirt, you know, like,
like so, I did that. That's me.
Yeah, like I finished, like I actually did one day, I did the whole thing. Like I cleaned it up and raked it. It was raining, which it felt really good. And I was out there raking and stuff, and it was all done. And I was like, well, damn, I did all of that stuff right there. I got pretty lines and rows and things, and the dirt's all looking dark because of the rain. And I was like, should be in a magazine right here, you know, like toot my own horn a little bit, you know.
Oh yeah.
But I like what you're doing with that because it, like I learned that was like another form of just like, and I think like with veterans, I think you just need something to focus on. Yes. Because like with that, like that had my like attention. Like I wanted to make sure I did it right. And I you know, when we do something, we dive into it, and we don't like to leave until it's done. Right. So like, and then with the whole farming thing, like how you're talking about that that veteran who has like different types of farms. I think that's pretty good. That's good. I think that's dope. I like his shooting one. I want to go to that one.
Yeah.
But he's got his own farm for shooting people. His own farm just to shoot guns. That's awesome. I want my own farm to shoot guns. But it's just I think we need something to focus on our attention on, because our brain is so driven to start a mission, complete a mission, start a task, finish a task. It's not start a mission, finish one mission. No, because then now we got to finish all the missions. Yeah. But we have to relearn how to multitask again, because it's almost like it's almost like experiencing culture shock to a sense, because you go from one culture to another culture. So you go from the military culture and structure where you know what you're doing to the minute every day, to civilian world not having any structure. Yeah, you got a job 9 to 5, but what happens after 5 till 8 the next morning? There's no structure. That's where you, the individual, have to make that structure, because no one's going to make it for you like how the Army did, or the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, even the Coast Guard too. We'll throw them in there. They count, you know. Oh yeah, they count. You know, they're cowboys riding submarines. They count. So, but you have to create your own structure. So if you got a job from 9 to 5, what are you doing from 5 to 10, 5 to 11? You know, like if you say nothing, do something. Like do anything. Go to the gym. Write a book. I'm gonna start writing a book about stuff, just to write one, because I got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Go to school. Draw. I actually draw on my tablet. I do like the drawing. I have a Samsung tablet, and all of my phone is a Samsung also, and they have this app called PenUp. And this is another resource. It's called PenUp, and what it does is they have this feature on there called Learn to Draw. So what it is you use the stylus pen and you hit play. Now the image comes up and it starts drawing on the pad. And when you hit pause, those markings are there for you to draw it. And the markings stop when you start drawing. So you let it draw. So it's almost like tracing. It's like tracing on steroids, basically. You know, instead of having like the tracing paper over an image, except you have to do it. So like you let it go 10, 15 seconds, and then you pause. And then you'll sit there. Now you're trying to draw, and you can erase, you know, and that's what I like to do. I actually like to do that a lot. And I have some pretty neat pictures. I mean, I'm no Picasso or anything, but I mean, you know, this is what you get for government work over here. You get a government drawing, you know what I mean? Like that's right. So you get one of those, but it's just one of those things. So if you have one of those phones or a tablet, do that. Do the drawing. Just do something to engage your mind. It's because it's the moments where you're not sitting there and you sit there and stew into nothing. That's where your brain starts to run and trail off, and that's where the suicide ideation. Damn, that word tongue tied me.
Ideation.
Yeah,
I don't even know how to say it. Ideation.
Ideations.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go with thoughts. Yeah, we're just gonna go easy. I tried to be all smart with the big word and got tongue tied. Trying to throw my psychology out there from school, but that didn't work. Epic fail. But see, like, this attitude right here is how I was a long time ago. But that took time to get there. Like, you wouldn't catch me in a handbasket 2 years ago doing this, over here stumbling over a word like you know, like you know, on a live platform that's going to be out there for people to see. But it starts with self working. You know, like, just don't sit there, you know, pacing back and forward. And then if you include alcohol, that's going to make it even worse. I mean, I don't drink. I mean, I never really drank. All my drinking days were back in the early 2000s with my best friend, Lewis. We had some crazy times. I tried to climb a storm drain and pretend I was Spider-Man, like, and then the storm drain fell and I fell, and everyone goes, "Oh, Spider-Man fell!" And then I tried to do like the jump up thing, and that didn't work, and I fell forward. It was, I did all that in my 20s, you know. So I mean, I just, now it's like I don't need it, but people, it's not, I'm not saying not to drink, but just know, don't have anything like that if you're in that place, especially if you're going through stuff. You probably shouldn't be even having any of it to begin with, because you may go do it socially, but that social environment does have to end. And then now you're stuck by yourself with a mind that's not thinking clearly, and that's dangerous.
Very dangerous.
It's very dangerous. It's a very dangerous place. You thought Iraq or Afghanistan was dangerous? No. Being drunk with depression and anxiety and PTSD, that's a more dangerous combination you got going on right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's just, don't stew in that place because it's just not healthy. And you got organizations like Dom's here. Now, for your organization, you said it across the country, right? It's not just with Pennsylvania. It's not just there. It's anyone can reach out to it, right?
Yeah, anyone can reach out to it. Right now, we're in Pennsylvania, we're in Maine, and we're in North Carolina. Right so, there, but yeah. we're looking to expand even more. It's great, you know. And I encourage anyone to, you know, you can visit us at www.freedomteaminc.org. You know, just click, and we're on Facebook as well. Just ask questions, and we're here to answer the questions. And, you know, Freedom Team just doesn't help out veterans. They also help out civilians as well, because a lot of civilians are giving back to the veterans. So it's only fair to get to the civilians as well. So a lot of civilians that has like the farms and stuff, like we have one that's local right here in Chambersburg. She has a nice size garden that she does at home, and it's about a 1/4 acre. And she said, no problem. She said, I'll teach. And she's been doing videos and everything for us. And she's a civilian, and she's going to show us how to can and everything. So she even told me you can can broccoli. And I had no idea you can can broccoli.
For real?
Yeah. I was like, wow. So she was like, yeah, she says, trust me, if you grow it, you can can it. So, so soon April hits, she's going to, we're going to get right back into it. And she's going to do some canning stuff with us. And, you know, we're going to do live streaming, and we're going to do some videos so people that's not here available can see it live and do it. So, and that's the one thing about technology. It's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
You know, you got YouTube, you got StreamYard, you got it all. And imagine actually physically seeing someone garden on like a StreamYard for like 45 minutes. It's wonderful. You know, so you don't have to be in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, or Maine. You can be anywhere. And like I tell people, if there's anywhere I can drive to, I will make sure I will set apart a weekend, and I'll come out myself to it. Me and the wife will come out, load up, and show you how to do things, and it's wonderful. You know, it's just one of them things. You know, and like my wife say, and to one of your points earlier, like my wife, she gave me an analogy. She said, even when you're on an airplane, she said, what do they tell you? If the cabin decompressed, put the mask on yourself first to help out someone else. So just like you said, Eric, you got to help yourself first in order to help someone else. Right. And it's wonderful. And now me and you both are at a point that we can help someone else. We have our mask on, so now we're helping someone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And you know that, and that's a thought process that's easily skewed, because we get so obsessed with wanting to help other people that we forget about ourselves. But we're at the place now that we realize, no, I need to. It's even like, it's a perfect example. In the military, you have a gas mask and you have an NBC suit. Before you can do anything, you got to put your gas mask on, not anyone else's. You have 5 seconds to put your gas mask on and clear. That's it. Then you put your stuff on, then you go help someone else. It's the same thing. So now when I shift the gears here to the civilians who like to watch, and I'm going to look at the camera when I do this, what are you doing for your veterans that live in your community? What are you doing for them? If you're doing something, great. If not, why? Doesn't require any money, doesn't require anything but just time, or a simple thank you for your service if you see them at the store, because that comment right there can just stop them from doing something dumb. Yeah, because they're just in the grocery store and they're not necessarily looking for it. You know, they wear their hat because it's their last leg of pride. You know, that because I have my hat that says U.S. Army retired on it. I have one that says Army veteran. I have my hat that I wear every now and then. I don't wear it all the time, you know, just because sometimes I just don't want the attention. But I get it. I wear the hat and I get it. And you know, and you get, it helps because it's almost like a rewarding kind of a feeling of, you know, hey, you know what? Even when you think people don't care, that one person does. Yeah. So like I'm asking the civilians, or even veterans too, because I know I do it all the time, but if it's mainly for the civilians, if you see one today or in the future, just stop and say thanks, and then watch their body reaction when they do it, especially when they're caught off guard. Watch their reaction and watch their face. because now you just shine some light on their day, because it does for me every time. And sometimes I honestly, like, I forget. I see the habit. I don't put like, oh, I'm gonna go get baked today. I'm not. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I honestly do it because it matches with what the hell I'm wearing.
Mhm.
I have a brown multicam hat that I wear with my brown pants. I have my black hat. Now, if I'm going to a veteran event, yes, I'm going to wear a hat that says that. And I got my dog with his service dog vest and his patches and things on there. I do all of that, you know. But just go tell someone thanks, really, like, and you'll see what shift that'll do. And you don't have to sit there and have a conversation with them if you don't want to. Just say things, and if a conversation happens organically, do it. Just have it, because they're trying to tell you something. They're just trying to get stuff off their chest.
Yeah.
And it actually happened a long time ago when I was miniature golfing with my fiance and my son. Some guy walked up. He saw me and with my dog, because he has his vest on and stuff, and he was asking questions about my dog and noticed I was military. And we talked for 15 minutes. Just like that, 15 minutes. He was just asking questions. He wanted to know. He was curious. He was a curious person. But that was just from my side. But see, now when you flip the sides, that's something that can happen to you when you ask those questions, civilians. So take a second and do that and thank people, because I promise you, not only will you feel rewarded, but so will they. But as we get close to wrap this up, Dom, what's I always, for people watch, I like to have the closing statement from
Yes.
my guest, so that way, if nothing is heard, or if you're just tone deaf or anything, stop, and listen to this closing statement. I had to say it loud so that way people actually stop and look what they're doing. So I had to make sure I get my command presence up in here. No.
That's right.
But go ahead, man. Give a closing statement for veterans and even some civilians too, for them, so that way they know.
Okay, my closing statement is this: be mentally strong, physically strong, socially strong, and spiritually strong. I love you, America.
Man, that's dope. That's awesome. That's legit. That's damn right there. That's perfect. Be strong in all those areas, people.
That's right.
Veterans, just know you're not alone. You're not alone at all. And just to broadcast it, I was telling Don before the show, next month I'll have an ex-prisoner of war, Jessica Lynch. She's going to be coming on the show to talk, to also spread some resources and awareness, to kind of caveat off of Dom, just to kind of help. So she's going to come on and spread some good words next month. And I look forward to be working with Dom here in the future, and with Matthew, and just kind of just uplift this whole community. So I want to thank everybody for coming on and watching. And I know you got busy times, busy days. This will be uploaded on Anchor, which is the voice like podcast. So if you can't watch, you can listen. So it'll be on Anchor, Google, Spotify, all that stuff. It goes all up on there. So yeah, go check out Freedom Team Inc. on Facebook. Go to their website if you need anything. If you want to make a donation, they have that button there too, because I done checked it out. Giving back, give back to the veterans who gave for you. And yeah, that's really all I have. But one more time, say your thing one more time. Say your close day one more time, because I want to hit it with that one. I had that thought come to mind, but I want to hear it one more time. And it's being told to me to say it, for you to say it again. So damn it, you have to say it again, so that, because I don't think people heard it. So you got to say it again.
All right, be mentally strong, physically strong, socially strong, and spiritually strong.
Freaking A right. Thank you, everybody. Dom, appreciate it. I hope y'all have a great day, and take his message seriously, people. See ya.